David Grocott, we're here at the Napa Centre, just by the railway station in Harlow. Can you tell me first a little bit about the organisation?
Yeah, so Napa is now, I think it's just past 15 years since it was first established in Los Angeles. So Napa seeks to be the world-leading centre for the treatment of neurodisabilities in children. So what that means essentially is lots of therapies for children who have disabilities. And yeah, we've been now operating in the UK since November of last year. We have children coming to us from the local area, anything up to about an hour away, I suppose. But we've also got children coming from much further afield. I think the furthest that's come to us so far is from Johannesburg in South Africa. So disabled children coming to us for some of the best therapies that really you can access for children in the world, and happening just here in Hull.
So you've just given me a tour of the building here, and children receiving therapy. So could you drill down a bit more? What is actually the therapy? Say, for example, here on a Tuesday morning that they're receiving.
So we have physiotherapy, we have occupational therapy, we have feeding therapy, and also speech therapy. All of those are happening here for children in a bit of a one-stop shop where people can access all of those things at the same time. I came into this because of my son. My son has quadriplegic cerebral palsy. And so when we used to attend the Napa Centre in Boston in the United States, what was wonderful for us as a family was that everything was just there in one place. And of course we were able to access the best physiotherapy, the best occupational therapy, etc., all of those different things. And the fact is that when you have a child with a neurological disability, the fact is that all of those different areas need to be looked at. And so what Napa does really well is it brings all of those things together into one place. It is convenient for families, is one way of looking at it, but also from the standpoint of the clinical experience we have, is that it makes sense to be able to work on an intensive model that we refer to, so that you're really harnessing and leveraging the best parts of all of those therapies in one go, coordinating the physiotherapy, the occupational therapy, the feeding therapy, all of those things in one place.
If a child is from Harlow, a parent's from Harlow, their child has, say, a similar condition to, is it Angus, your son?
Yeah, my son Angus, yeah.
Can they go to the NHS?
They can go to the NHS, and of course the NHS is the primary source of healthcare in the UK, of course. I can only speak really with confidence from my own experience. My son has received equipment from the NHS, and indeed in the past some physiotherapy from the NHS, and some occupational therapy from the NHS. We've had no speech intervention, no feeding intervention from the NHS. And the fact is that I think many of our families, whilst they're appreciative of what the NHS has been able to do for them in many areas, they recognise that there is more that can be done. And in fact, many NHS practitioners I've worked with recognise that there is much more that could be done that currently is not available for disabled children on the NHS. So can somebody come here? Yes, they can. Of course they can, but we do operate as a private clinic at the moment.
If you recognise that more could be done, do you need to get out there and speak to the politicians about more that could be done?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think that it is imperative. We need to realise in this country, I believe, very passionately, I believe that we are currently doing a huge disservice to disabled children in this country. The therapy that we offer, as described for children, it does not compare to what is being done elsewhere in the world. And so we used to take my son over to Boston. He's been out there, 13, 14, 15 times. And I got into negotiation with Napa in the States and said, gosh, wouldn't it be wonderful if we were able to come to Europe? The therapy centre here now is the result of that conversation, I suppose. And we've got here American therapists, we've got here Australian therapists, we've got a therapist from around the world who are bringing the very best therapies for disabled children here to Europe, centred here in Harlow. Now, what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to demonstrate to people in Europe, in the UK, what can be done. And yes, in answer to your question, we've got to speak to politicians, we've got to demonstrate that this is what can be done. because as a country we can do so much better. And so that's really where I'm coming from. We want to be able to offer the very best for our children, and we're doing that here.
When parents come from Johannesburg, for example, how long are they here for? And also, whether you're Johannesburg or down the road in Harlow, is there an element of expectation management that you have to perform?
Yes, that's true. Well, two questions there. So the families that come to us, especially those who come from further afield, are here for 3 weeks at a time. But also we have families that come, for an hour a week or something like that. But yeah, I suppose there is a degree of that. I mean, when I first came to Napa, when we took my son to Napa for the first time in the States, I wasn't really sure what to expect. And I suppose in my heart, I hoped that my son's condition could be rectified very quickly. The fact is that it is a long road when you're helping any child. When you're helping any child to learn and to develop, it takes a long time for any kid to mature. And my son had a pretty bad birth injury, essentially, that means that he's got significantly further to travel. So it's going to take longer for him to be able to acquire skills, and there may be some things that he still continues to find very tricky later in life. But we can give him the best opportunity to have the strongest and most able future that he possibly can. And I think that it is morally right to do that for children, but it makes common sense to invest in children so that when they reach adulthood, they have the most independence they possibly can.
In the tour I've just had, the children are very young. How did they go all the way up to 18, or what's
and beyond? Yeah, I mean, so we've got principally, I suppose, the youngest children we have here are less than a year old. So literally babies. And the first time that we took Angus over to the States, he was only just over a year old. And it makes sense. The science leads us to believe that if you have lots of early intervention, it makes an awful lot of sense in terms of therapy for children. But really, yeah, it goes all the way. We've got people coming to us in their early 20s. And it's, I'd love to say that unfortunately, the problems that we have for the therapies for children, they're only continued into adulthood. And so what we want to do is primarily focused on children, I suppose, because I know that that's where there is possibly the greatest need. But it is important that we demonstrate what can be done for everybody, regardless of age. And yeah, while children will remain our focus, yes, we have older people coming on to us as well.
We've been very serious, and it's a very serious subject, talk about politics and health, etc. But your staff here, you gave me the tour. They are very positive, positive people, aren't they?
Yeah, no, it's fun. We're dealing with children, right? And so, I used to be a teacher, and I know that I used to teach history in schools, and I know the looks on kids' faces. I mean, hopefully they enjoyed my lessons, but pretty serious. They were certainly having much more fun when they were running around in the playground afterwards. This centre should be fun, right? That's how children learn the most. There's lots of science back to that, linked to serotonin and all sorts of things. Kids learn most when they're having fun. So out there, it is the most ludicrous thing you can buy. Friday I'll be dressed up as a unicorn, for example. We try to have fun with kids because that's when they're most engaged. That's when they're going to be able to develop the most.
And for yourself, has this all now become a vocation? It's a job,
yeah.
But is it a vocation now?
Yeah, for me, I mean, it's Angus is coming up to 7 years of age. I would change the last 6 years in a heartbeat for his sake, and for my other son's sake. It's been very, very difficult, but and of course I would change Angus's condition if I could. I can't change the past. I can change the future, and actually, this is a tremendous opportunity for me personally to be able to have a positive impact on people, and that's what I want to be able to do.
And finally, where do you hopefully see Napa UK in, say, 5 years' time?
Because every person who comes to us will come in slightly uncertain of what to expect. They then seem to go through a sort of slight change insofar as they seem to be very happy, see those smiles developing. And then typically what happens is that people are saying, well, when can we come back? And what I want to do is I want to make sure that more people can access the therapies that we've got here. So if we can do more of what we're currently doing, that is absolutely brilliant.